Today, I want to talk about practice. And there's a new practice app that's out there that the creator of the app actually reached out to me back in the spring of this year, let me know that he was coming out with this app, wanted me to take a look at it, do a review of it. I think it was rolled out June or July, somewhere in that period it rolled out. He let me know. I looked on it, I looked at it, I got on there, I tried out a little bit, and I saw potential in it, but at that time, a lot of the features were coming soon. They weren't really in the app. I put it aside, kind of put it on, put it on the shelf, that I'll come back to it later. I recently checked it out a few days ago and realized a lot of those coming soon features were now in the app. There's still a few that haven't been added yet, but a ton of them are here. So I jumped on it the last couple of days. I've been trying it out, doing some practicing with it, and I wanted to bring it to you guys, tell you about it, make you aware of it. It's not something I think all of you are going to like, but those of you who are analytical, really like to dive into stats, maybe you really want to break down exactly where your problems are and what areas that you need to work on to make you a better player. That's what this does. It really takes your practice and it really lets you break it down to find the exact area where your weaknesses is. And look, Scoreholio is great. I love Scoreholio. I'm a huge fan. I use it all the time. Scoreholio has practice options with deca rounds, the round holios and the ghost cornhole. And if that's all you need, great. I mean, this does that too, but this takes it to the next level. This gets a little bit of a deeper dive into it, which is why I wanted to bring it up. The app is called Beyond Boards and Bags. I'll put it down in the description for you guys, but it's Beyond Boards and Bags. I have my account pulled up here. I said I've used it for a couple days here, so I've got some stats in here. We're gonna jump in. I want to skip the stats for now. I want to jump into start practicing area of this and show you all the different practice modes. There are all the different things you can do. Then we'll go back in, jump into stats, and I'll kind of show you how it breaks it down and how I analyze it and how I think you can utilize it to improve your game. Let's go and jump into the start practicing and I'll pull this up here. And you can see under start practicing, there's a bunch of different game modes. And you've got everything, you got these 5 game modes: the DECA, the ghost training, airmail training, block training, specific throws. Volume training, scarcity training, those are still showing coming soon for both of those. And then versus mode as well. But we'll jump up here and start with the DECA. DECA round, you have 2 different options in this. You got a DECA round, which is a 10-round game. You got a triple DECA, 30 rounds. For those who don't know, a DECA round, you throw 4 bags, you put your score in. You can get up to 12 points each round. So your total score, the highest you can score is 120 points. And you score it. You figure out what your score is. Basically, if your PPR is 9, you should score about a 90 each game you play, right? If you have a PPR of 8, you should score 80. PPR 7, right? So it should match up to your PPR, but you're just trying to put your 4 bags in. There's no opponent with you. It's just a great way to get up there and throw and kind of see how consistent you are, how good you are with open boards. It does actually break down your, not just your PPR, but it gives you your inside and outside arm PPR as well. I can't remember Scoreholio if it gives you inside or outside. I don't know on that. It might. I know they started that was a feature added not too long ago. But it also gives you your, when you miss a bag, if you miss one bag, so if you throw a 9 or a 10, 3 in, one on the board or one off the board, you get to pick where you missed it or which bag it was. You missed your first bag, one of your middle bags, or your last bag. That's something new. And that I actually like that because I think there's something into that as far as the mental side of it is, where are your misses? Are you consistently missing the first bag, the last bag, the middle bag? I think that really helps it. For me, I found, and I'll show you my stats. First bag is my biggest miss. Last bag is my second biggest miss, which makes sense because a lot of times when I'm playing, sometimes it takes that first bag. When I throw my first bag, I'm not fully into the round yet mentally, and then I missed, and I have to focus, and then I put the next 3 in. Plus, once you miss the first one, there's less pressure on the next 3, right? Whereas on the reverse, that if you make your first 3, there's a lot of pressure on that first bag, and I find myself a lot of times when I make the first 3 on that fourth bag, I'm trying to place that bag in the hole instead of just throwing the bag. I'm really overthinking it. I think overanalyzing it, and so that's why I tend to find when I miss the first one, the pressure's off. When I make the first 3, it's more pressure on the fourth bag. I think that's where I show is on the mental side. It's nothing to do with the physical side, nothing to do with the throw in it. It's a mental aspect for me, I find. But I actually like the fact that it tells you, so you can see a pattern. If something's right, maybe if you're struggling all the time with the last bag, that's something you need to work on, right? Figure out how to work it and go with it. The one thing I would suggest on here that is not an option, and when you throw, I think it says here somewhere, you always start on the inside arm, so it keeps track inside out. So you don't pick it. It always assumes your inside arm. So you always start inside arm, and then it'll alternate inside out to inside out. The one thing suggestion I'd make to the developer and the creators of the app is, I would love to be able to just do inside only or outside only. So if I'm throwing and I find that I really struggle outside arm, maybe today I'm going to work on outside arm. So I want to go do a deck round of nothing but outside arm and just play 10 rounds outside arm and see how I do. Right? I think that would be a cool feature to add down the road. Right now, it's not there. But anyway, on the deck around and the triple decker, you can go down here under the game you're playing. You select decker, triple decker, and then you can put what bag you're throwing. So let's say let's say I'm throwing the chaos bags, and we'll start a game here. And it gives you your record. I was curious about this. I should have read it. I didn't read into it. My high score is a 10.7 on this the last couple of days, so 107. The 50% four baggers, I don't know if that was my best four bagger percentage any round or that was my percentage of that round. I mean, they may be one and the same, but as you play a lot, you may have a high four bagger percentage in one game, but another game, you may score higher points. That makes I don't know what that works. And then it gives you your last 10 game average on there, so you can kind of see where you were in the last 10 games, figure out where you should be for this game. But let's say the first round I throw three in the hole, one on. When I hit next, now it tells me which bag did I miss, first, middle, or last. Right, so that's what I'm talking about. Is you can pick which bag you missed, and it'll keep track of that percentage for you. That's kind of a neat little feature they added in there. I really like that. It does the same for the triple deckers round as well. So I'm gonna back out of it. I don't really want to keep track of stats for this. And then we're gonna jump into the Ghost training side. And for those of you who played Ghost Cornhole, they have the standard Ghost Cornhole under Ghost. You can pick a Ghost from 4 to 10. For those who haven't played Ghost Cornhole, it's a great way to play against an imaginary opponent, but you set their score every round. So let's say you play Ghost 7. That means they're going to score 7 every round, and you get points for everything over 7 points. So if you throw a 10, you score 3 points. If you throw a 5, they get 2 points. And you try to play to see which one wins first, you or them. If you find yourself, and it's a great way to figure out where you are, I think, skill wise, and to see how you're improving. You know, if you play Ghost 7, you beat them easily. You jump to Ghost 8, you play Ghost 8, great. You once you get to 9, maybe you're struggling. Okay, I'm between an 8 and 9. It kind of gives you an idea of where you are, but you are playing on nothing but an open board. You're not having to deal with opponents' bags. This is more of just working on that slide shot in there. So you got standard Ghost level, and like I said, you can pick. If you go here, you can go down and pick your ghost, which ghost you're using. Like I said, 4 through 10. Again, you get to type the bags you're using in there. It does as well keep track of stats, the overall PPR, inside outside PPR, bags in, on, off, four bagger percentage. It gives you all that as well. Again, start inside arm. I think it tells you on here somewhere that you should always start inside arm. I can't remember. Maybe in each of the different game modes, it might. Oh yeah, different. Number 2, always start on the inside. I think every mode always has you start inside arm and then go to outside. So just gotta keep that in mind. Otherwise, it'll throw your inside outside arm stats off. Ghost penalty is a neat variation of the regular ghost in the sense that anytime you throw a bag off the board, you get -1 point for that. So if you throw 3 bags in the hole, 1 off, instead of getting 9 like you would in regular ghost, you get 8 points for that round. So it really penalizes you. So if you're having trouble or your biggest weakness is bags off the board, the ghost penalty is interesting because I think it starts to make you really think about the mindset of keeping bags on the board, because a bag on the board is always better than a bag off the board, right? You always want to be there. So it really does penalize you. So it's a neat way to really think about that and see how many points you're losing with bags off the board. Right, so that's fun. The Ghost Random would be Scornholio has something like this because they do have different. I think it's only like 3 options. Scornholio. This one they give you a lot. You got Novice, Intermediate, Competitive, Advanced, Pro, and Extreme Pro. 6 different options there. Basically, you're going to choose the skill level you want the Ghost to be at. They're going to score a random point for that round. The system will do it for you, and that random point is going to be kind of at that skill level. Right, and you know, you may play competitive. A competitive player may throw a 12 every. I don't know if this happens, but they can throw a 12. They can throw a 10, but they're also going to throw some 4s and 5s as well. But I think it's going to be kind of closer to that. You know, a competitive maybe like say a 6 or 7 PPR. It may throw closer to that level for you. Extreme Pro is interesting because Extreme Pro means the Ghost is going to score 12 points every round unless you score 12. Anytime you don't score 12, the Ghost gets a 12. If you score 12, then the Ghost randomly gets a 8, 9, 10, or 12, one of those 4. So the Ghost could still wash you if you throw 12, but you could get up to 4 points in there. So it really makes it a tougher game, really puts the emphasis on trying to put 4 bags in every round. So if you're trying to really push yourself, maybe you're at that advanced level and you really want to push yourself, Extreme Pro is a tough mode to play on that. And then again, it keeps track of your same stats. It does everything like that. And you can pick down here which level you're playing. So let's say I want to play advanced, and I'm gonna throw the Rex bags. Whoops, Rex bags, and then so we're playing advanced. Let's say I throw a 10, right? So it looks like the Ghost got a 10 that time, right? So we'll put my 10 in. We wash. The next round I throw a 4. Looks like the Ghost threw an 8. Right. Next round. Oh, it does show up top. It goes through a 6. Okay, I'm sorry. I just realized that. So it shows the very top here. It says advance, and then what the Ghost is throwing. Next round, Ghost throws a 10. Which is interesting. I think for me on that, maybe that's I didn't realize that it showed it pre the Rex. I usually finish around hitting next. Maybe it's either I don't hit next or you don't. I would rather see that covered up until I put my score in, only because you don't know what your opponent's throwing when you throw your four bags, right? And I think the mindset of it, I almost don't want to see their score until I've put my score in, and then I see, oh man, they threw that, right? Or something that, or maybe give you the option to hide the ghost score or to show it, one or the other. It just some advice for the developer, but it's still, I love the fact that it does give it random, so it makes it closer to a real game as well. It's back too far up. And then the next thing you have is ghost blocking, which means you're going to put a blocker up there for the ghost, and then you're gonna play your game to push through the blocker, to get around the blocker, to work to deal with the blocker, and your score is going to be, or your ghost score is going to be based on how you handle the blocker. So they have two different options: a ghost 7 or ghost 8. And ghost 7, if you push that ghost blocker back off the board, you bar soap them, whatever, you get them off the board completely, they score 6 points to 7 that round, they lose a point. If you leave their bag on the board, they score their 7. If you push their bag in the hole, they get 9. So they're going to gain if you put the bag in. So it's really working on trying to get around that blocker in different ways, dealing with different blockers, and let you score that way. There's also a block bag 8, which I'm assuming the scoring then is 7, 8, 10 instead of 6, 7, 9. It doesn't really show, but I think that's what that is here. And then you can set up, you got all these different modes, right? You've got the push, the V push, the hard push, the get around, the cut, reverse cut, airmail, and roll. So you've got all these different ways, and then you keep track of your stats, and it'll show you here, like say I'm working on the get around, right? And I want to do ghost block 8, and then I am throwing the tremor bags. And now I can, let's say I put 3 in, 1 on, and then down here, that I push their bag in, that I leave their bag, which you see, if I push their bag in, they scored a 9, or they scored a 10, I scored a 10, it's a wash. If I left their bag alone, then they scored an 8, get 2 points. If I push their bag off the board, I get 3 because they scored a 7, right? So it changes. You get to choose what you did with their bag, or not choose, you get to tell it what you did with the ghost blocker bag, and it gives you a score accordingly to that. So it rewards you for getting around that blocker. And that's kind of the idea of the ghost block bag, is learning to get around blockers on the board and still put your bag in the hole, still score that round. So it gives you a different variation. It's kind of fun to play. And I know some of these descriptions sound complicated. They make it sound complicated. Once you played them once, the scoring system, really easy to use. I found it very intuitive. Once I jumped in a game, I may not have fully understood the rules, but once I jumped in the game, it became pretty simple to do. Next thing I'll jump into is airmail training, which is throwing airmails, but they have some different variations here on the way you can do it. You can set up and do as you see down here, it's in fact, I'll go down the game modes, might be easier to see. You've got slide, airmail, which means you're gonna get up there and you're gonna throw 4 bags. You want to slide one in, airmail, slide, airmail. It lets you score that way. And then if you put 4 bags in, it then asks you, did you complete the sequence correctly? So let's say I slid my first bag in, I hit the airmail. My third bag, I slid, but I left it hanging, didn't take it in. And my fourth bag, I hit the airmail and dragged that bag in. So it's going to ask me to hit the sequence. I said, no, I got 12 points that round, but I didn't hit my sequence. So at the end, it's going to give you a deck around total, but it's also going to give you how many percentages of those rounds did you actually get the correct sequence. So I could score a perfect round of 120, deck around of 120, but I could get a 0% of sequence if I don't hit the sequence right every time. So it kind of it gives you the total points you're scoring, but also how well you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Then you got the slide airmail. You got 4 airmails. You can do an airmail drag, which means you set the bag up on the board and try to drag it. If you drag it with your first bag, you get 12 points. Second bag, you get 9. Third bag 6, fourth bag 3. If you miss it, you get 0. So the more bags it takes you, the less points you get for that round. It kind of penalizes you, right? And the same with the N1. You set an N1 there and try to knock it off. And when you do one of those, like let's say I do the airmail drag, and we are throwing the X'd out. Oops. X'd out bags. And I want to do, so it's going to tell me right here, right? If I hit it on my first try, I get 12 points. Second try, I get 9. It takes care of it for you. It does a little scoring for you. So it's really simple. You don't have to think about it. So how many throws did you throw before you drag that bag in and you just put it in, go to the next round? I made it the 4th try, right? It just keeps adding. And it gives you a deck around score at the end. So as I said before, it's very intuitive in the way the scoring system works. It really makes it, I really love the simplicity of the scoring. I think these description direction pages are a little intimidating when you look at them. It's like there's a lot of words there that can maybe be kind of cleaned up a little bit, but once you get into the game, it seems to work really well. The next one is block training. Oh, the one thing on the airmail that I did miss was I would love to see the option to throw a blocker and then 3 air mails. So assuming you throw your first bag blocker, maybe your opponent back blocks you, or your opponent throws their first bag blocker and you back block them, and now you're trying to hit 3 air mails. That's the one mode that was missing in the air mail training side. I think it's in the block training one, but I'd love to see the air mail training side as well. Now on the block side, it's actually not quite. It's not 3 blockers and other blocks, and I'll get to that here in a minute. But the block training is you're going to put a blocker up there, or you're going to throw a blocker up there, and then you're going to deal with it in a certain sequence. So it's got, block, push, block, 2 bags in, and then push on the 4th bag, or slide, block, push, airmail. Again, you're going to put your deck around score in for that, and then it's going to ask you if you hit your sequence, which I don't think I showed you before. But let's do the block in and push, which to me would be a blocker, airmail, push. But you can do blocker, roll, push, blocker, cut, push. You've got different options there. And we're going to throw, what bags am I throwing this time? Let's throw the chief bags. All right, and so it shows me here, you can see here, right? My record round is 93 points with 20% perfect, which is only 2 of those 10 rounds that I actually get the right pattern correctly. So that's going to be in a 10. Maybe I haven't played enough. I haven't played this very often, so it may only have been one round if I can't remember. But let's say I did 4 bags in, right? 12 points. I hit next. Now, did you do the pattern correctly? So I block in and push. Well, maybe I missed the blocker and I put 3 bags in and there's nothing to push. I just slid all 4 bags in. Did I hit it correctly? No, right? But if you do 3, then it doesn't ask you, right? If you do anything less, all it's worried about is bags in the hole. It's not worried because the idea is to put 4 bags in. So if you're leaving a bag up there, you're only getting points. But anytime you do 4, it's going to ask you, did you do the pattern correctly? Yes or no? And you put yes or no, and it keeps track of that for you. And it includes that in your stats. So you've got those different styles: the block in and push, slide, block, push, airmail. Again, maybe here goes the block, airmail, or block in and in, right? Again, you're throwing a back blocker. In mine, say throwing a back blocker and then trying to put your next 3 bags. I'd like to see that game mode either here or on the airmail page, one of the 2 there. And then the last mode is specific throws. This is very similar to the ghost block training, where you have bags you're putting on the board and you're trying to deal with them, whether it's push through them, get around them, cuts, rolls, flops, whatever, or airmails, whatever you're trying to do. But it doesn't, instead of playing against a ghost in this game, you're just doing a deck around, keep track. It was a little confusing. I think I figured this one out. So let's say I play the cuts, and I am going to throw, what are we throwing? Let's throw the Guardian X bags. And this is where, to me, I got confused. So let's say I put my 4 bags in, or I got a 12, but it asked me 1, 2, 3, 4, or miss. I think what it's asking me is how many bags did I actually successfully cut around. So in other words, if I threw my first bag on and tried to cut, but I pushed her and collected their bag, put my next 3 in, I actually got 4 bags in, but I missed. But maybe I got 2 bags that I cut around, and then the 3rd bag I actually pushed through and collected their bag or whatever, or I bumped into their bag and I didn't, whatever. So maybe I put 2 there. It gives me percentage may cut 50%. I think that's how it's working. So it's asking you how many bags did you successfully do what you were trying to do that round, if that makes sense. I think that's what it is. It didn't really explain it. When I'm back to the rules on that, it didn't really explain that very well of what that was supposed to be. So I was looking through. I think that's what it means on there. Again, it's just you're playing a deck around with these different options. So you can really tailor the style of game mode you want to play. And the cool thing is, because it keeps track of your stats, you can see over time how you're improving, if you're improving, also see where you're struggling, which takes me back into the stat side. So when you pull up your stats, it gives you, again, you can pick the game mode. So I think Deca was I played the most. Like I picked Deca, and it shows me here my lifetime or my overall PPR is 9.97. Inside arm, I'm better than outside arm, which is interesting because in Deca rounds and open boards, if I'm just playing myself, inside arm, I'm always better. It's a straight shot. In game competition, when I'm playing someone else, I'm better outside arm, strictly because outside arm is tougher to block a person's outside arm because they can step out, they've got a harsher angle. It's tough. If you're going to try to block that outside arm person, you've got to put that blocker way over on their side, which then means they can step back in and play a reverse cut or an inside get around your back. So I love throwing outside arm because I give more options. Whereas inside arm, I step out with my arm, obviously on the inside, I can't get it as far out as I can. So I have less of an angle, which makes it a little easier to put a blocker in my lane, and the opponent put a blocker and still come collected. Outside arm, if they put a blocker in my lane, it's tough for them. If they go far enough over, it's tough for them to collect. That makes sense. So I tend to play better inside arm when I'm just throwing deck rounds like this, but outside arm better when I'm in competition. I know that, but it's cool, interesting to see. It gives you, like I said, all your ins, on, off, four bagger stats. How many nines and tens? I think that's my average. Four nines or tens over the average of a 10 round. I think is what that's saying. But what's interesting down here is it gives you your first bag miss percentage, your middle bag, your last bag, which they actually have a graph down here, which you can see 46% of the time I miss my first bag, 32% I miss my last bag, and then 21 in the middle. And that's just because I always think the first and last are my bigger options. But I know my biggest miss is the first bag, which means it's telling me that when I first go to throwing around, I'm not fully focused. Like my mind's not there. I'm getting up, throwing my first bag, and then if I miss, okay, now I focus in and I can do better than that. So it is interesting for me, and that's something that I do know that sometimes as I'm picking up, I don't. And a lot of times sometimes if I'm playing a game, I do it more in deck around than I do game. But I get up there and I'm quick to throw the first bag. I don't really get myself back into the because I like to reset after each throw. If you notice, I keep my bags on the board simply because I can't maintain focus for that full 30 seconds or 45, whatever, however long a round lasts. It's tough for me to maintain focus for the entire time. So I can maintain focus for, a 5 second clip four times in a round than I can for the whole time that I'm up there throwing. That's why I like to throw, step, relax, reset, grab a bag, step back up, focus, throw. But when I'm doing these, a lot of times I step for that first bag, I'm not fully focused in there mentally. And that's what that's telling me, I think, on my end, which is something that'd be cool for me to work on, try to focus on being more focused on my first bag and see if I can drop that first bag miss percentage down and bring my overall stats up, which is fun. The other thing is that it gives you a graph, and like I said, I haven't used it for a few days here. What you're going to see here is the blue line is the overall PPR, and then the red and orange inside outside, and of course the blue is always going to be in the middle. But what you'll see is if you really have if you're skewed one way, if you're really good on in and you struggle on the outside arm, you're going to see that bigger gap of those red and orange lines are going to be wider. They're spread more apart. They're going to spread out with the blue in the middle, and that tells you you've got a bigger variance between the two, and you need to find which one you're struggling on and work on that. And then down here, as you scroll down, it just shows your graphs for your bags on, bags in, bags off, four bagger percentage, and all that. And it keeps track over time for you. I don't know. I really haven't played enough days to see how big of a graph this is. It just shows you the last few days where you can scroll or not. Curious to see how that goes. I don't know. And then it gives you your day stats. These are the overall stats that I've used so far with this. So it gives you it gives you the same stats you get with Scoreholio. Then it dives in deeper and really allows you to see, to me, where you're struggling, and then you can go back and work on that. And you can go in here and pick which one, block training. I think I did the block in and push a lot. So you can see here, yeah, I did that a few times. So my points, I don't know how many times I played this, but my average points was 61 points. 13.33% of the time I actually did it perfectly, right? So I can see that, and then I can keep playing that, and hopefully those numbers will go up. I'll get a higher points, and I'll get a higher percentage of that. Airmail, I think I did. Did I do all four? I did all four airmails. So you'll see 44% airmail when I did this on that. So it does keep track of your stats on the individual training that you're doing. It doesn't just give you your overall, and it actually breaks down each individual one you're doing, so you can work on something specific and see how you're improving in that area, and then go work on something else and see how you're improving. I really like the way it's set up. I think it's for me. I have an analytical mind. This is the type of stuff I love to dive into and really see where am I struggling. And you may think for you, right? You think, you know what, I'm good inside arm, I'm bad outside arm, and then you start running these deck arounds. You're like, you know what, I'm actually better outside than in. Because a lot of times we have a perception of how we play, and then we start keeping our stats and realize that perception is a little off. I thought I was good on airmails, but now I go and see, man, I'm shooting 20% airmail. And for airmail, I don't know what a good number is. I really don't. But I want to put this out there and let you guys know, because I actually enjoy doing this. This is a fun way to practice. It's a good way to change your practice sessions up, because I know a lot of times you go out there and throw a deck rounds can get boring. Ghost cornhole can get boring. You want something different, or you want to really figure out, hey, let me go work on push shots. Let me go work on airmails. Let me go work and it's hard, because if you do a deck around in Scoreholio and today is your airmails and not your regular, you can't separate that. You can't distinguish what I'm working on. But here, I can go shoot 4 airmails and do 10 rounds. So shoot 40 airmails and see how I do. And it doesn't impact my normal deck around scores. It separates us. I really like the way that this is broke down and how it does that. I'm a huge fan of it so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing as they add more options to this, how it improves, what other things they can add. I think it's going to get better. And so I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. If you've tried this out or if you watch this video, go try it out. Drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you like it? Is this something you're going to use? Again, I don't think this is something everybody's going to like. Some of you are going to get out there and just be like, it's too much. I don't care about this. I just want to throw bags. I don't want to think about all this different stuff. I get that. No need, nothing to worry about. But there are some of you out there that really want to break down and analyze your throw, analyze your game, try to tweak things just to make things a little bit better, or take your game to that next level if that matters to you. I think this app is really going to help you. It's really focused more on the training and development side of it, and not just throwing bags. That makes sense. Go check out the app Beyond Boards and Bags. Let me know your thoughts on it. Drop a comment down below. As always, I thank you guys so much for your support, and I thank you for watching.